So is right now a good time to buy into the stock market? The answer is likely going to be yes. And in this video, I'm going to break down the crystal clear signal with no noise, no BS of what is happening, the why behind it, and how to build the confidence to capitalize on what's happening in the market right now to simply make money, right? Here's my Charles Schwab account. I'm going to post this video right after I record it. Account is being a little bit volatile. I am down a little bit more than the NASDAQ today, but a little bit more than the S&P. On balance, though, the account is basically at all-time highs. That's what it's all about. We are all here to make money. So let's break down the data because there's some pretty important things that came out. Let's start with the bad to start. We are now in the greed category on the fear greed index. You're probably going to be like, Brandon, like, why is this bad? I see green. Well, as Warren Buffett says, one of the best investors of all time, when people are greedy, like we are right now, that's when we want to be a little bit fearful, a little bit more cautious. And then if we scroll down just a little bit more, we are quite a bit of ways above the 125-day moving average. Again, implying, hey, maybe the market is a little bit hot. Going down a little bit more one more time, we see on the put call ratio that there's more people buying call options right now than puts. The lower the chart goes, the more bullish people are. Why should we care about all that stuff? In English, most people do everything completely backwards. When the market is falling right here, everybody was buying puts for this Iran dip. When the market ran up, everybody was buying calls because they were excited and they didn't even know why they were buying calls. And now that the market started to rebound off of this low right here about a week ago, market is now up about 9%. Now that the market's rebounding, everyone's like, oh yeah, everything is great out there. We're going to be fine. We're going to the moon, right? But there's a couple things under the hood that we have to talk about that might bring this party down and might cause a lot of volatility in the stock market. So check this out right here. We now have the 10-year bond yield climbing, and it is not climbing in a way that we want it to climb. It's climbing in a way that the market is scared that we are going to hike interest rates. The market is scared that we are going to raise interest rates because inflation is out of control. Why is inflation out of control or going higher? Well, look at this right here. It's oil. Oil prices in the last year are up 28%. And if we look at this little rally that we're starting to have today in the last couple of days, this is largely because, hey, we're expecting it to deal with Iran, but it never came. And now it's like, hey, maybe oil is going to go up because the Strait of Hormuz is still closed. Building on the Iran situation, there's so much volatility with this. It's kind of like, how are we ever going to get a deal? How are we ever going to get the Strait of Hormuz opened up? How are we ever going to bring the price of oil down? How are we ever going to get the 10-year bond yield to fall? Because inflation is going up. And if we look at this data right here, this shows us on a 1-month chart where inflation has been going in the last month. Clearly up and to the right and clearly not what we want to see. Because again, if inflation goes up, the Fed is going to raise interest rates to try to bring inflation down. What is largely causing the inflation? Again, it's oil. So oil is a big driver of where the stock market is likely to go in the short term. Now, full disclosure, I do not think that oil and what's happening with Iran is going to be a big, long-lasting thing in the stock market. I think it's likely to just be short-term volatility, and we are going to get short-term volatility like these bumps right here. And as I've been saying in all my videos, and I made a video literally right here when the market was down, I said no volatility should go uncapitalized on. So even though the market went up a little bit, there is still a lot that we could capitalize on, and I'm going to run you through the data right now to prove that to you. And then we'll go through a few companies that are very high conviction for me right now, things that I'm potentially allocating to. Okay, so what I just said so far is basically the bad things happening in the market. Inflation's going up, oil's going up, the 10-year bond yield is going up, people are greedy right now, they're getting a little bit euphoric. We want to be more excited down here again when the market is falling, which is kind of feels like the exact opposite thing of what you want to do. But level-headed, logical investors that know what they own and why they own it, they like to buy when things are on sale. So there are less sales right now, but there still are a lot of things that we could capitalize on. Now, this data just came out. This data is like the holy grail of where the stock market is likely to go. You might not believe me, but trust me, this is humongous to understand. Check this out. This shows us how companies are reporting earnings so far as of Q2 of 2026 for that earnings season that we're basically done with. So check this out. 88% of the S&P 500 reported earnings so far. Of that 88%, 86% have beat earnings per share expectations, and 71% has beat revenue expectations. Why do we care? Because the stock market is a big game of expectations versus reality. If you're expecting this and you get this, That is positive upside surprise. That is room for the market to potentially go higher because the market was pricing in this and we got this. So the market has to go gap up to get to where those expectations are at. So looking at this data right here, we are crushing it this earnings season. Revenue is crushing it. Earnings per share is crushing it. That is great. But just because we're beating expectations, it doesn't necessarily mean that that is good. Because again, what if a company was reporting $5 earnings per share last year, and then they report $1 this year, and the expectation was 90 cents? 90 cents was the expectation. You beat that with $1, but hey, last year was $5. So it's still down and not good, but you did beat the expectation. So then what do we look at next? We look at the actual number. For Q2 of 2026, the blended year-over-year earnings growth rate for the S&P is 50.4%. I just want to take a moment of silence for that. Like, craziness. 50% year-over-year growth is nuts. It is off the charts. It is the highest you might ever see in your entire life, not coming out of a recession. Like, this is just a normal time in the market, and we're getting this explosive earnings per share growth right now. The average is about 8 to 10% per year. So we're like 5x the average right now. So it shouldn't shock you that, everyone's saying, Michael Burry, everyone online, like, oh my God, the market's a bubble, we're going to crash. But it's like, are they not factoring in that earnings per share growth is so astronomically strong right now? That's probably where the market's going to go in the long term, right? Look at a 5-year chart of the NASDAQ. Earnings per share is going up and to the right. The index is following that up and to the right. I'll show you a few other charts on this in just a second. But where the earnings go is where the price is likely to go. And we are seeing very, very strong earnings per share growth right now. So look, we're beating expectations. The growth is good. But does that tell us if the market is a bubble or not right now? No. We have to look at the valuation level, which of course is right here. The forward 12-month price earnings ratio level for the S&P 500 is about 20. The 5-year average is 19.9, so we're a little bit above that. And then the 10-year average is 19. So we are a little bit higher on the price earnings ratio level than normal. But what is way higher, like orders of magnitude higher, where the earnings per share growth is going. So are you okay to pay a slightly higher PE ratio right now for much faster growth? Like, in my opinion, yeah, for sure. Like it's a no-brainer. Like EPS growth is really, really strong. Now, the growth really isn't actually 50%. There's funky accounting things that these companies are doing that are making the numbers look better than what they actually are. And if we scroll down a little bit on this chart right here, you can read that for yourself. If we exclude Google and Amazon, the blended year-over-year earnings per share growth rate for Q2 is going to fall to 32% from 50. Think about that. That's a really big drop if we just throw out 2 companies out of 500 in the S&P 500. But excluding these 2, like these are the big dogs that have private investments where they mark them up a lot. And if we just throw these out completely, the growth is still really, really good. So I do like to think that this 32% year-over-year growth for earnings per share is relatively accurate to what the actual underlying businesses are doing. Because the other companies beyond Google and Amazon didn't really do a lot of mark-to-market accounting stuff in a way that actually moves the needle. So 32% year-over-year is like astronomically good in my opinion still. So if we look at that, if we get 32% year-over-year growth instead of 50, are we still okay to pay a PE ratio of 20? In my opinion, the answer is a yes, because the 10-year average is 19 and the 30-year average is around 17.5. So yes, higher, but this is orders of magnitude higher. Even at 30%, it's way higher than a normal. And then if we go take it, the old reliable chart that I've been showing on this YouTube channel basically from day one, and again, this did just update. The darker line shows you the trajectory of where the earnings per share is actually going. I don't think we're going to stay on this vertical trajectory forever. I do think we're eventually going to round off a little bit. But the point I'm getting at is earnings per share growth is great. Like look back, this is a 10-year chart. Is it this vertical anywhere on the chart to the left? The answer is obviously no. So when you're getting into the market at basically fair valuation with EPS growth going parabolic right now, don't we think that the patient, level-headed investor is likely to be rewarded if they buy good companies and ETFs at good prices and plan to hold them for the long term and only do options in a way that makes sense, right? We'll talk about some option trades in just a second here. But like, I just want this to click with everybody. You should be lucky and happy that you are paying attention to the stock market and watching this video at a time like right now. Like pretend I was making this YouTube video and we go back to the charts and I go to the alt chart. Pretend that we were making this YouTube video like right here in, 1999 or 2000. What am I going to be saying back then? Hey guys, it's another video here from Brandon. The market's at all-time highs, but the market is a bubble because the NASDAQ price earnings ratio level is 100 back here. It was actually 100. And right now, all the way up here, even though you might think it's a bubble, the price earnings ratio level right now is about 22 for the NASDAQ. So way lower, 22 here versus 100 back here. This is not a bubble in the stock market. This is an earnings growth-led rally. So yes, we do have things to worry about. Yes, the market is a little bit on a greedy side right now if we look at the fear greed index. We do have interest rates on the rise, which honestly, they're not really that bad right now, but they are a little bit higher. And oil is obviously going up a little bit. The Iran situation, inflation's going up a little bit. There's always going to be something to worry about in the stock market, but on balance, you should be lucky that there's things to potentially capitalize on right now that are very, very opportunistic. Okay, let's look at this chart right here. Then we'll dive into a few companies that I have my eyes on right now because I did make a few trades recently. I send those out in real time every day for Discord people. But let's look at this right here and then we'll go into that. There's 3 lines here. The red line is the actual S&P 500. The blue line is the forward earnings for the S&P 500, which earnings per share, same thing. And the green line is the forward price earnings ratio level. So this shows you the price, this shows you the profits, and this shows you basically price divided by profit. So you get that ratio of like, what am I getting? What am I paying? Again, price earnings ratio level is this. You buy this business for $20, it throws off $1 per year in profit. It'll take you 20 years to get your initial investment back. This is a price earnings ratio level of 20, just so you could kind of understand what that actually means. So again, what do we see here? And these are 2 different data points, by the way. This is from Yardeni right here. The data that we looked at earlier over here, this is from FactSet. If we look at the Yardeni data, earnings per share is clearly accelerating. It's not just like going up, it is vertically accelerating. At the same time, price earnings ratio level is coming down a little bit because EPS is growing so much and the market's kind of stalling out a little bit right now. So what does that mean in English? It means that you're getting more bang for less buck. You're getting better companies at better prices with better earnings per share growth, and you're paying less for it. That is a bullish thing in the market. That is exactly what we want to see. We want deals. We want opportunity. And again, like not everything in the stock market right now is opportunistic. That's just the way that it goes. Let's go to last week. We'll go through a couple companies that reported earnings. I'll give you my quick thoughts. Let's look at Palantir. We all know the Palantir sent to the moon after they reported, and it was a really, really good quarter. But if we look at this fundamentally, we understand that you're paying a price earnings ratio level of 146 with really good earnings per share and revenue growth. Are the odds super stacked in your favor when you buy something like that? In my opinion, no. I think the valuation is just simply too hot. Like if we just go compare this to NVDA right now, and they're about to report earnings in a couple weeks, you're getting similar earnings per share and revenue growth, and you're getting that for 37 times trailing earnings. That's a P ratio of 37. So it just shows you like you're paying a premium for Palantir right now, PLTR, and you really need them to execute and continue this growth going up and to the right. If it does continue, yeah, the stock's probably going to do good. But if it doesn't, this stock has a lot of room to move down potentially. Let's take a look at AMD. They just reported great quarter. I know the stock has been down a little bit, but this is a classic example of a great company at a bad price, in my opinion. Stock has been running to the moon. Revenue growth came in really good. I'll show you this right here. This is earnings per share growth coming in good. This is revenue growth coming in great right here too. The problem is that you're paying 82 times trailing earnings, which is hot, when again, if you look at the big bad NVIDIA, you're paying 37 times with almost double the growth. Double the growth, better company, fatter profit margins. It's hard to justify AMD right now, in my opinion. And that, again, is why the stock has been down and NVIDIA has kind of been going up. They're kind of diverging a little bit just because AMD is too expensive, right? Let's look at a few things that are reporting this week, and then I'll show you some of the cream of the crop that I really like a lot. HIMSS reports today, after the bell. Take a look at this. Revenue growth started to slow down a little bit. And when revenue growth starts to slow down because the company does not have a moat, meaning they have competition that could crush them, guess what's going to happen to earnings per share? EPS falls. And guess what happens when you have a company with a high valuation level and EPS falls? You can see right here the stock went from 62 up here to then the stock fell to $15 and now it's at 30. So the stock is still down over 50% even though it started this rally back right here. So HIMSS is not a company I'm willing to allocate to. If we take a look at something like a CoreWeave, if we look at their revenue growth, yes, revenue growth is looking good. They're definitely not profitable because they're spending so much money on, data center build out, buying chips, trying to scale their backlog, their compute, whatever. But this is still a company with a price sales ratio of basically 8. which isn't a bubble, but there is a lot of question marks around a company of CoreWeave. Like if we just go buy any company in the real world, we want to make money from the company, right? Like CoreWeave gets revenue, but they don't make profit. They are losing money. They're losing money. So when you look at a company like CoreWeave, it's like, when are they actually going to become profitable? 2 years, 3 years, maybe longer. And by the time that they actually do become profitable, how does a data center business even look for them? All they do is basically build data centers and then rent out their cloud compute. How does that going to look for them 3 years from right now at a time that they might become profitable? Do we think that their profit margins are going to be a little bit more narrow because it's more competition, or we're going to be less compute constrained? In my opinion, probably. So CoreWeave is really, it's kind of like a gamble. I don't feel like the odds are super stacked in my favor when I allocate to CoreWeave. We have a company like Nibius. It's kind of the exact same thing. You're paying a price sales ratio level of 50, which is really, really hot, right? And yes, revenue growth is great. There's no debating that. But it's like, what is the dynamic going to look like in a few years from right now when these companies actually try to get profitable? Is there going to be a lot of margin compression? Is there going to be a lot of competition? Is there going to be compute data centers everywhere, where it's like if they are everywhere, they're less scarce, and then the pricing power is going to go down for these companies? It's very, very possible. There's a lot of unknowns with these companies. And I guess like the thing that you really have to click in the back of your head is like, we don't have to form an opinion on everything. We don't have to be experts of everything. It is okay to say, I don't know to some things. And I say, I don't know to plenty of things in Discord, trust me. But what I'm saying is like, you want to allocate to things that it's kind of like smack you in the side of the head, obvious, like there's someone hitting you in the side of the head with a 2x4. Like, yes, this is clearly obvious. Like, if we look at my stock sheet really quick, I'm covering up some of the positions, but if you want to learn more about that, click the link below, 10-day stocks and options transformation training. It'll help you out so much. And you'll get access to this stock sheet here too. But things that are like smacking the side of the face obvious right now, like NVIDIA, in my opinion, good valuation right here, good growth, good mode, good execution risk, and the economy overall backdrop is okay. Total score of an 83. Anything with a 75 or higher is potentially a buy. We have Triple Q, which is a NASDAQ, basically fair value. TSM undervalued. S&P 500 fair value. Meta undervalued. Micron undervalued. Google undervalued. Chase Bank, Amazon basically fair value. Morgan Stanley, SanDisk, Berkshire Hathaway. Like, I mean, the list goes on. There's so many companies that I have on this sheet right here. And, towards the bottom here, I hope that you guys don't own these companies because these companies either are very overvalued, they're either bubbles, or they just have no moat whatsoever and the competition is about to crush them, kind of like something like a Nike, in my opinion. So to bring this video back to earth, yes, I get it. Looking at this chart right here, the NASDAQ, it definitely looks like a bubble, right? But my strong convictive opinion is that we are not in a bubble because the price earnings ratio level here for the NASDAQ was about 100. Right now we're about 22, and EPS growth, as we saw in multiple charts, and here's one right here, clearly going up and to the right on this blue line right here. So when you have that strong growth, but then you have these negative catalysts that are happening right now in the market with Iran and the Fed and interest rates and AI and oil, whatever, the market's going to be very volatile, but the patient, long-term oriented investor is likely to be rewarded. This is why when I do options, I only do 2-year portfolio secure puts. I buy 2-year call options. I hold everything for the long term because nobody knows what the market's going to do in the short term. Nobody knows what these bumps are actually going to be and when they're going to happen. But I promise you that if you buy good things for less than what they're worth and you're patient with it, you keep your ratios in check to be fine in any market crash, you will do well in the long term. So I'm bullish on the market in the long term. Short term, I'm cautiously optimistic. It's going to be very, very volatile. I recommend you keep your pants on and buckle up. Get your belt on really tight because it's going to be a bumpy ride, I promise you. Okay. You want to learn more about my stocks and options system, click the link below, 10-day stocks and options transformation training. You get my course, my Discord, my stock sheet, access to me to ask me questions in real time. There's so much going on in there every single day. You're going to love it. But if you don't want to do that just yet, watch this video right here. It's more about how I do my stock option system, and I'll see you guys there.